Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of LT's Laser Lancer Review. The purpose of these videos is just to give you a quick review of a certain topic. This should not be your only form of studying. Ideally, all these videos are just under 5 minutes, so it's just a quick review. So let's jump right into it. So our topic today, we're going to talk about the Enlightenment, but before we do that, let's look at a timeline real quick. So to get to Enlightenment, we have to have the scientific revolution first. And that is going to be real quickly in Europe when people started to use observation and experimentation to question why things were the way they were. They were looking at the sun, they were looking at the stars and the moon, and the reasons the world and society always got before the scientific revolution for things were being questioned. And they were backed up by the Catholic Church. Once we discovered that the sun doesn't revolve around us and we revolve around the sun. I mean, stuff like that was a big deal to question because in the church's mind, you were questioning God, and they didn't like that. And it was another way the church was losing power. But for in terms of the Enlightenment, you have to know pretty much the scientific revolution was questioning authority, and that mindset of questioning things is going to roll into the Enlightenment. So, we're going to have the Enlightenment, and then because of what happens in the Enlightenment, that is going to lead to the French Revolution and the start of multiple revolutions and the fall of absolute rulers. And before we talk about the Enlightenment, we're going to talk about absolutism. So what is absolutism? That is when the monarch, so king or queen, has all the power. Or if it says the state has all the power, that still means the monarch, because the monarch is the state. Their justification in this is divine right. A king would say, I have the right by God to rule and be the sole ruler of my country. And I'm the king because God made me the king. I don't have to listen to anyone else. So just imagine being told since you were a small child that you are the most important person in the country. It's You're going to have some egotistical maniacs, and some of them are going to make good decisions, such as Catherine the Great, but some of them are going to be weak and corrupt rulers, such as Louis the 16th, who is pictured right there. All right, so now that we know the scientific revolution, absolutism, we can jump into the Enlightenment. So, what is the Enlightenment? The Enlightenment is going to be the European movement of ideas that focus on the individual rather than tradition. So people are starting to say, why why do I have to starve? Why do I have to work in the fields all day when the king has this giant palace at Versailles? Why can't I choose the leader? Why does it always have to be this way? Yes, it's tradition, but why? Why do we have to stick this way? So that just notion itself is going to spark massive change throughout Europe and then eventually the rest of the world. And there's multiple Enlightenment thinkers you should study. Um, Montesquieu and Checks and Balances, Rousseau and the Social Contract. My homegirl, Mary Wollstonecraft, she was one of the first people to say and get published saying, hey, women matter. So that's a big deal. But really, the mascot of the Enlightened movement is none other than John Locke. John Locke is going to say, listen, everyone's entitled to life, liberty, and property. And Thomas Jefferson's going to take those words and put a twist on it for the Declaration of Independence, as we all know. And the big thing that he said, listen, if your government doesn't provide you these natural rights, you have the right to overthrow the government. If your government doesn't protect those rights, you can overthrow the government. And that was a very, very radical idea at the time. And those absolute monarchs of Europe, when they heard that, they were like, ugh, not a fan of that. So during the Enlightenment, it's going to be the 1700s. These ideas are going to start to be planted or seeded into the minds of Europeans, and eventually is going to lead to the French Revolution. And that's what we'll talk about in our next video. All right, so that was the Enlightenment. Again, this is just real quick. If I talk too fast, you can rewind, but please go to Schoology, look at the readings on there, and read for those as well too. However, every LT review show does not end like that. It ends with a fun fact that has nothing to do with anything. So here's your fun fact of the day. Montana is known as the treasure state because it produces the most gold, silver, and copper in the U.S. Is that fun? I thought that would have been California, but hey, there you go. All right, everybody. As always, I'm LT, and we will see you next time.